but they're not meant for gaming conditions. They're not. Absolutely. Last year when I play, like. All right, let's try this. on. So we would have to do it like we would have to do it as a jump in. You and orbital earlier, so.
All right, chat, the final match of the day. Rolling around at you, it's Boise State versus UC Davis. I'm Yelkrub again, joined by Infernosis this time for the last match of the night. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing absolutely phenomenal, having a great time, and looking forward to getting a good cast here with you, like all the ones you've had today so far. So, looking forward to it.
Next match should be a good one. I mean, we got some crazy talented teams on the table today. Boise State and UC Davis, these are some GM caliber teams. We're no longer in the Navigator division. We are up in the Gladiator division. These are the Titans of the NECC going to do battle on the same map pool we've been on all day, Ilios, then Kings Row, and then Havana, the 3-map set. But it should be a completely different place and pace and style of play than we've seen so far tonight.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it, but I've been taking a couple looks at some of the players so far, and number one person that I'm looking at right now is Goblin, because he has 21 hours on Bastion in this current competitive season. So this dude is one-tricking Bastion to be at his rank. So I'm obviously in love already. And I know I'm not supposed to point out favoritism, but if you're going to rock a Bastion at this level of play and be successful, I assume, at this level of play, then, it's kind of hard not to give you a little support under the table, right?
It's interesting you had that reaction because I noticed his career profile and I made sure to avoid his teammate. But I think he's going to be bringing the pain today with the Sentry turret. I've seen him pop off pretty much all fall last season in the NECC, and I know he can bring the hurt today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited. We're going to start off on Control, which is, going to be a little bit interesting. And while we are starting off on Ilios, I would love to see a Widowmaker. And I know you had commented on it, last match because I watched your last cast saying you don't see Widowmakers often, but we did see the Widowmaker at the end of the last game. A quite successful Widowmaker at the end of the last game, and it's something that me as a Widow one trick, and I'm sure you hit a Voidus teammate on me as well. But I as a Widow fan, I respect other players picking up Widow, and I think Ilios is one where you can find some success on a couple of those, not all of them, because it's not successful in indoors, but you could definitely argue for some success, especially with some dive comps if you play around that Widow. But I think Wrecking Ball who has shown his presence quite successfully in recent times for a lot of the games I've been casting here at NECC, will definitely wreak havoc on that and force that to be switched off to fairly swiftly.
Yeah, Wrecking Ball's got a great slot in the meta right now. It recently nerfed, and a change that came through today, just the knockback when he rolls through the enemy. So his disruption is a little bit lower than it used to be, but still just such a highly impactful hero. Can just slam in, and basically the only tank that can get away with just going 1v6 for a couple seconds with the enemy.
Yeah, it's something that I don't like facing off against. I mean, come on, you talk about an Orisa, right? Like, as a Widow main, that head hitbox is like the largest thing on the human planet, right? You don't miss that. Like, she's slow, she can't get around, but I don't think I've ever hit the head of a Hammond. I don't think I've ever in my entire life been able to shoot that dude. He is. I
wonder.
Continue.
Sorry. I just had a thought occur to me, like, I wonder if the Blizzard team ever thought when they were just like thinking about how do we nerf Hammond? Do we make it so his overshields give you alt charge? Do we increase his grapple hook to make it a few seconds longer before the cooldown is back? Or do we just enlarge his head?
Like, big brain. He's from the moon, right?
Like the Grinch's heart, it grew 3 sizes on a Tuesday. That could be the exact change Wrecking Ball needs, but we're never going to see it because we're not game developers. But one day,
yeah, we're stepping into the booth here. We're really going to give them the advice they need at this stage. I mean, Overwatch 2 is coming out, not this year, unfortunately, but Overwatch 2 could come out next year. Maybe they increase his head. Maybe he gets a little bit smarter. He learns from his years here on planet Earth and can kind of take his old age. How old do hamsters live for, anyways? Like,
I'm not the guy to ask.
I think that's another question.
I'm not going to lie, Infernosis. My sister had 2 hamsters growing up, and they didn't live as long as hamsters are supposed to, I don't think. So I don't have a good, accurate answer for you there, but at least 3 years.
Okay, so he may not even make it to Overwatch 2, is what I'm hearing, right?
No.
This is
might not make the sequel.
May need to head back up to the moon and start a few more tests right here. Maybe we'll have a rat come in this time. He'll be the one inside the actual ball itself, but maybe because he's larger, he'll have a longer lifespan, but we'll have fun with him nonetheless. But I think we're almost ready to jump into it. But I want to comment a little bit about what I've been seeing, a lot recently. Because one of the teams I casted for here at NECC last week, I got to cast again earlier this week for a completely different tournament. And I still saw Echo as the main, DPS choice when it came to every single map and play. I wanted to hear your take on that because, Wrecking Ball comes in swiftly, and he got that little bit of a nerve towards the knockback on his swings. But, bringing an Echo combination and even like, a Mercy to Valkyrie behind and float in could be devastating still.
Yeah, devastating is definitely the right word. When I think of Echo's focusing beam, I think it's hands down the most devastating cooldown in the entire game. If you fall below half HP, it's just a death sentence when someone uses that ability on you. And her ultimate, hands down, has to be the most devastating because it can be any ultimate you want from the other team. You get to literally handpick what's most valuable to you at the time, and you have a chance to build up 2, maybe even 3 of them during one Echo ult. It's insane value she brings to the table. I expect to see it in today's game being at the highest level of play in the NECC.
What's your opinion on the double monkey meta for that? For Echo playing and being the Winston duo, just coming in swinging.
Yeah, it is definitely tough when you're getting battered and bruised out there by a monkey, especially if he's got primal rage, you're getting knocked around. There's really no way to avoid it. But same thing with the Wrecking Ball like you were talking about earlier. His CC, even though it just got nerfed, is still massive. If he's up in your face and you're dueling a DPS, it's almost impossible to get your tracking locked in and make the plays you need to. So, yeah, dive tank meta, very difficult. The coordination is this on point like we're going to see today. But we're seeing Goblin God not on Bastion in Infernosis.
Yeah,
shocking you in form.
All right,
I love this man.
Yeah, he's really coming in. I wanted to take a moment. We talked about the Echo, and we do see Juicy Steak picking that up, and she's going to bring that to the table. And we are seeing Winston come into play as well. That's Ecal coming through. So we did see Kel for a second on the Winston, but obviously opting off to go for the Roadhog. A possible hook to come through and make it a little bit troublesome inside of that giant pit in the center. So maybe some environmental kills we'll see from this team. Who knows what we're going to see so far.
Right now, just posturing for this first point take. Boise State taking this right side, caged in room. They've got the turret in the back line to defend their supports, and they're looking to have Guac make the move up front, slamming in, but he's focused down. Plato, though, trading out a kill on the Ecal, and still it's anyone's fight. 5 versus 5. Make it 5 versus 4. Plato finds another with a headshot. A large bagel getting in the mix as well, taking down Juicy Steak, sending her back to spawn in the first cap in Infernosis of the Broncos.
I mean, obviously, off the back of Plato there, coming through the 2 McCree frags at the start and took away, Ecal, who came in a little bit too aggressively, didn't have enough healing. You did have, that Discord orb that came onto him to, focus burst that down in the engagement of that fight. And, a little bit more of an engagement going on now. Guac's going to succumb, and so is Goblin as well. And it's a little bit of a refrag opportunity now for the UC Davis side to kind of take the aggression forward. The 2 players that are on the respawn side, so they have the opportunity to rush, and Plato's not looking very hot as the rush does come from Ecal.
A large bagel does get that kill out of Frosty over on the right side before popping his trance, trying to keep this defense alive here. Plato with the high noon, able to stay alive inside that trance, but unfortunately no kills come of that ultimate. Kelly and a large bagel do manage to focus down 2 members of UC Davis before they try to push them off point once and for good. Ecal goes into the pit of doom, and that is going to be a hold again for Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they lost a few rounds at the start, but they were able to hold out long enough to, stop the aggression coming from the opposite side, and it definitely didn't look so hot for them after they had managed to get a little bit of a playback, and especially when Plato didn't get taken out. Ecal had that aggression going in the start, but it didn't seem to matter, but Scouts are going to get dropped. Minefield goes, they have the grab going off as well, and it seems to be a pretty strong burst right now coming from the UC Davis side.
UC Davis, they've still got some ultimates they could use. Ecal pops the Primal Rage. Doesn't seem like he's going to find any value with that one. And it seems like the DPS for Boise State doing a great job keeping UC Davis at bay, but right there was the tank ultimates that set and controlled the tempo of that fight. Guac laying down the mines, Kel ripping the whole hog, and just chaining UC Davis away from the front line. Final fight coming up for the Aggies.
It's going to be very difficult now. You do still have one ult in the hand of Juicy Steak. She can pop the duplicate to try and get the situation underway, but she's going to turn into the McCree, and the high noon from Plato is going to go off but not connect. Blooper will find one as well. Kel will fall to that, and we're going to see a last-ditch effort that's going to look like it's going to have some success. This was something that we didn't anticipate. One ult was all you had reaching into this one, and yet you still win it out against the 2 ults that were available on the opposing side. So a very successful take by UC Davis, and at a 99 to now 5%, percentile difference, a good retake to try and bring themselves back into this one.
Well, I'm looking at one thing and one thing only right now. There is a different turret on the side of the Broncos. Goblin God is making an appearance on the Bastion. Let's go see which way he rolls up to the point. Right now, he's all alone on the right side, but when he gets set up, he is going to do a number on the Aggies. Frosty already goes down to the Sentry. Coalescence having to be popped now. Sorry, not Coalescence, Nano. Popped by Fenrir into the back line, but Fenrir right now doesn't really have a lot of peel. Challenged in close by Guac. Kel holding down the front line on the other end of things. Plato and Guac both able to get kills onto the supports of UC Davis. Trying to kick him off the point, flip this one back in the favor of the Broncos. Guac taking down Ecal. Could just be enough to make it happen. Frosty falls a second time this fight. The flip comes through. Overtime ticks down. Doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to make it there in time. Lucio, though, does get that last-minute touch. Will it be enough? I sure don't believe so.
I mean, obviously, it's just a last-ditch effort. You do have the rush coming through. Ecal does manage to touch and pops Primal Rage to buy a little bit of time, but it doesn't seem to last. I think he actually just got bursted or either jumped down. It's too hard to tell. But Frosty also falls. Your Tracer that tries to make the swift return cannot do it. And Goblin with the switch to the Bastion for one single fight got all the way up to 90%, 96% ult charge and 99% of your attack in that last push for them.
Yeah, the Secret Sentry coming out on the right side, bursting down the Tracer. Only 150 hit points Frosty had, and they were erased in a flash when he met that turret. And then, yeah, like you said, charged that ultimate so quick, already got up to 90%, had a Winston Primal Raging. I mean, just farmed him for 1,000 damage in about 2 seconds. Insane numbers I'm sure Goblin God has. He's looking over on the Soldier this time, going with the legs and Plato on the Widowmaker. You were hoping to see it, you Widow One Trick. You got your wish.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't take that as an insult, I'll be brutally honest with you, but Plato has my heart. Goblin stole it initially, but Plato has ripped it from his hands, and it's going to be a very swift control point fight to try and back them off. You do see the Hammond coming through, the Wrecking Ball making the presence known, knocking back, like you said, get a little bit of a nerf, but he's still going to survive. Very low in health, however, but he will find the health pack over on the right side. It's going to be very difficult for them as they've now been forced back all the way, and they're going to have to rely on Plato to get a frag to allow them to entry.
Cal fell awfully low right there, able to use that staircase just to keep him covered up by the damage coming on from the Broncos. Plato opening things up with a pick onto Juicy Steak, sending her back to spawn. Now it's Guac and Kel in on the front line. Kel does miss the hook onto Ecal, but finished off by Goblin God in. It seems like the first tick, or the first capture rather, taken by UC Davis, but I don't believe they're going to be able to hold it for long as the Broncos, quick stay, out to dry, already taken by the Broncos.
Alright, so Juicy Steak, she's now stolen my heart as well. So another Widow comes out and, a very successful first frag. That's a healer for the opposing side. You have to worry about it. We had seen in that last push that came through. Oh no, Plato went for the jump shot up above and Juicy Steak denies. This is Widowmaker showing the presence immediately. Juicy Steak switched and has already found success. 2 frags to start the fight, and a full take now by the UC Davis side will secure them another capture point.
A great job just getting back in the mix. They still had a lot of their players with the movement cooldowns alive, able to get back from spawn incredibly fast, only giving the Broncos 23% of that point on their first capture. Great job recontesting, but right now the Broncos coming back in with a head of steam. Guac engages, slamming down onto the front line, but Frosty is able to find the first kill on the Goblin with that pulse bomb.
And obviously, you have to worry now. You do see the Widowmaker ult does come out. You can have a little bit of those wall hacks to give yourself the advantage, and it does work in that, 1v1 Widow engagement between Plato and Juicy Steak. So, goes in the favor now of the Boise State side, and they're actually going to take a fairly egregious push here as Guac is able to get the environmental hit off and finish onto Wild. And it's just going to be a regroup and maybe even see Oompa Loompa get, pushed out and die, but the hook does come through. A little bit of time bought out, and it's just going to be enough to finish off Ecal in the last, and Oompa in the last moments of that fight.
God getting all these final blows up front, but what I noticed from that fight was Kel rolled onto the point, and it didn't seem like UC Davis had a great way to answer a Roadhog with his entire kit in store. I mean, you challenge him with the Winston, he just gets deleted. Oompa Loompa has to have high charge if they're looking to take down Kel. Otherwise, he's going to be a final boss on this objective every single fight.
You do see the ult does come out from Juicy Steak, that the ability to see through the walls will be useful. It was useful for Play-Doh, but now a fight that goes through. 2 drops from Juicy. She finds success, and Oompa Loompa is able to find one in return. So now it's a, you're fighting a 3, now a 2v5, as Juicy does manage to get taken out by Kill, and it's not looking very hot for the actual Boise State side. And it's just going to be them fighting their life on the last few seconds of it, but it won't seem to matter.
79%, a very timely retake for UC Davis as they were getting close to final fight territory if this one inched up any closer to 100% capped for Boise, but able to get back in just in the nick of time, and they've got ultimates to show for it.
Yeah, obviously, look at where they're positioning themselves.
Coming up, Nano Boost almost charged up, and Frosty.
I think we're having audio comments on Discord. Oh my goodness. No, it's fine, totally fine, but the fight does engage, and now you have a situation where you're 1 man down, now 2 mans down as Frosty and Wild Deuce come to the other side, but Plato's going to come in with the ult as well. He's trying to find the opposing target of Juice, but they won't be able to get it off. And now it's a firefight that's going entirely in the favor of the Boise State side.
Coming through, and it seems like they've managed to get them into final fight. If UC Davis is able to take this one back, they should have the end game locked up, but they're going to have to get through Goblin God, High Noon, Guac's Wrecking Ball Mines, and Kel's Whole Hog, and a large bagel has that Transcendence to bail out the Broncos in case they need it. That support ultimate more than enough to keep them alive, and now there won't be an anti-nade from Frenwer to counter that trance.
Fight does engage on, and it seems to continue to go Boise State. They're finding everything and finding all of the success. High Noon does drop, will it find anything? It doesn't seem to. He's pretty far back. I think he actually managed to damage ECal, but it's not going to matter, as Large Bagel will find not 1, but 2. The supports falling for the opposing side in a very successful BSU win. 2 capture points, or control points, I should say, back-to-back.
Strong showing. Broncos coming out of the gate, absolutely cantering. We're going to get a play of the game here from Juicy Steak. I like it. The Widow just pub stomping with some headshots here for sure.
Oh my goodness.
That was quick. Okay.
Oh my goodness. The level of love. This was the exact thing I talked about. Plato went for the jump shot, and you never saw him go for it again. The entire game, you never saw Plato go for that ever again, because it was denied entirely by Juicy Steak. She went off on the Widowmaker, and it was the level of success we saw from both Widows that really gave themselves the attacking advantage, but it was definitely the success more in the hands of Juicy Steak that gave their team, a fighting chance, ultimately not really mattering, but you have the opportunity.
You like that map one too. I mean, Juicy Steak goes in, gets that clutch play of the game, 2 insanely quick flick shots right on the heads. And I mean, that just puts some respect on the name for the rest of the match going forward. If there's a Widow duel going on, I think Juicy Steak just has the ego to take more aggressive angles and back down the Widow of Boise State. But Boise State, in the end, they do get the 2-0 there on Ilias to start this one out. Very strong showing.
Obviously a great one all around, but I think we will head to a short little break in between. We'll be right back. We'll talk a little bit. Wait, we're not going to go to break? Oh, so we won't go to a break. We'll just go straight into the next one. So this one's going to be fun as well.
Break's already over. That's how fast it was.
Oh, we're already done. We're already out of the situation. I want to talk a little bit out, a couple of our sponsors here. Now, have you ever heard of Respawn here, Yelgrim?
Oh, I've heard of them. I've sat in them. I'm familiar.
You've sat in them?
Tell me more.
Then you must know that, Respawn products are forged for all-day comfort for content creators, professional and casual players, or anyone looking to upgrade their setup. They've been battle tested and achieve a level of comfort that leaves competitors in the dust. So, live to play another day with Respawn, your battle-ready partner. I know you say you're sitting on, but you're not sitting on one right now. So, feels a little unfair here, man. I mean,
got this nice mesh office chair. I'm very old school in my roots. I've got them planted. I can't dig them up. I just can't let this baby go. We're too attached.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you sit in a chair for a long period of time, and you have to sit in a chair that will last. You don't replace a perfectly usable chair in most scenarios, and you try to sit until they break down, but I'll tell you what, Respawn chairs will never break down, and you'll never need to replace it unless, unfortunate things happen. Like, I think, unfortunately, the shipping problem with our producers here that he has to get is a little bit fixed. But, besides the occasional shipping problem, which may occur, send it back, get it re-fixed, have the situation under control, and, enjoy your product from Respawn, because I know they make very good ones. But now we're heading over to Kings Row. My take, Widowmakers. We've already seen them. I want to see them again. Let's go.
Let's see on Kings Row. What? Like
Yes!
first point crow's nest coming out of
First
spawn.
point
Where are you
crows,
going to
yep.
see a Widowmaker here?
You just see him right at the start. One pick, if you get it, that's it. You push and you act on that. You don't get the pick, you switch off, you play something else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the one pick, try to play that scenario and then kind of move forward. It's a little bit of a switch scenario that you kind of have to look into. And we've definitely seen both Juicy Steak and, Plato play the Widowmaker and have some success on the Widowmaker. So I think they're players that are capable of that.
I think you're right. And I think even though I did just kind of trash Widowmaker on this map is home to one of the most legendary Widowmaker plays of all time, where the LA Gladiators just roped around the left side of the map and hid their Widowmaker in spawn, came in on a flank, and then sure for the Widowmaker popped up and clicked a couple of heads. This was during an insane GOATS meta too. So Widowmaker, although almost never seen on Kings Row, does have a spot to shine. I don't think it's going to be what we see today, though. I do think we continue to see lots of Wrecking Ball, lots of Roadhog. Kel, Guac seem to be gelling on those two heroes, have no reason to swap so far. But Ecal and Oompa Loompa, they're the tank line that has to search for some answers. What do you think they can come up with on Kings Row?
I mean, honestly, just basing off of what we saw in the last match today, I think we'll probably see some off damage, right? Some maze, right? You do have those walls and kind of cut off the competition, give it a little bit of extra support where your support lane maybe won't find as much success. You can play in that type of situation. I worry about the DPS, however, if you're going to play like a Mei, you may worry about, outputting an FDPS elsewhere. So you're going to need someone that can output that level of DPS. And I think an Echo could output that level of DPS, but I would worry. And, McCree Mei combo could come through, could be the denial. You can always, stun out a Reinhardt shield or any type of shield that's going to be played. Sigmas for the tank line may be possible in this situation. Is a very strong when it comes to the actual streets phase of the map. And it'll be something that you definitely have to worry about facing off against when that flux does come out and is the big denial. For healers, I'm going to call it Baptiste. Immortality field against that flux is going to be a definite necessity.
I think it's a fairly good thing to expect. And as well with the Baptiste, I think Goblin God is probably going to switch to Bastion at some point. And Baptiste is a very good support. That Immortality field is a clutch ability when you got 300 rounds coming right at you.
Oh my goodness. Just the amount of PTSD you probably have to feel after facing off against him and that weapon in hand. It's definitely going to be something to keep an eye out for. But, just basing off what we see right now, we're seeing them switch around a little bit. But a Reaper and a Doomfist is what we are seeing in the hands of the Boise State side. No, a Widowmaker does come through. This is probably just to bait me and to make me look silly. But, they could actually go for that first pick kind of situation. But it's not Plato on it, which is a little bit strange.
Yeah, Goblin God is the hit scan, but usually not the Widowmaker. I don't think Boise State is looking for. I'm not quite sure they have a dedicated Widow player if they need to have that hero make an appearance. On the other side, though, we've got Juicy Steak on the McCree, a different look, playing their main, very comfortable and frosty on the Junkrat. What I like about the Junkrat here on defense in particular is the ultimate Riptire has massive swing potential in fights where your team goes down 1 or 2 picks.
Yeah, I want you to take a look. The fight has engaged, and they're taking a very aggressive position, but you do have that Crow's Nest Goblin up top with the Widowmaker. They're going to drop it. They're actually going to stick to the Widowmaker and actually continue to try and play that. The aggression, however, from that Boise State side will make it very difficult for the Widowmaker to actually gain sightlines. The Reinhardt's facing off and the Immortality field going out as well will make this fight a lot more difficult for both sides.
Goblin does take that Widowmaker angle aggressively through the Alderworth Hotel, challenged by McCree rolling in, trying to land that stun. Juicy Steak unable to find that kill. Oompa Loompa the first one to fall to Plato, speed boosted in, closing onto the front line and taking down the Reinhardt. There it is, Goblin showing up in the kill feed with a pair of headshots onto some squishies before going down to Juicy Steak. But 5 minutes, 40 seconds, they open up the garage door and unleash the first point.
I want to take a note a little bit about, the fact that Goblin's going to switch off the Widow. Found success where you needed to. You don't play this on Streets phase. It's just, unless you're a one-trick pony like me, but you don't typically, if you want success, you don't play Widowmaker on the Streets phase. And I want to point out Juicy Steak, who kind of separated from her team in that situation, kind of played around, goes through the actual church, steps through the backside, and just targets individually Goblin. And unfortunately, your team gets completely decimated when you step away. That extra damage utility you have is not going to be available. And the high ground right now being taken this is going to give themselves a little bit of an advantage if they can hold on to this one, but
They don't
White will
see him.
definitely get
Plato. Oh, no. That is decimation. Plato coming through, Wraithing out unscathed. They've still got just under 5 minutes on the time bank. Baptiste Amplification Matrix has to be committed here. The Fire Strike flung through it, but they can't quite find the cleanup on the Glock. He remains alive. Asu finding kills. Death Blossom let loose, and Ecal goes down. Plato finding a couple more into the kill feed. 4.5 minutes is about where they're going to take this, and that is an insane time bank in Phronosis.
This is absolutely insane. You already have 4.5. Now you're up to 6 minutes, just short, I should say, of 6 minutes. You didn't even have your healer basically with you the entire engagement. The Baptiste was sitting back on the payload. He wasn't involved in the entire first half. Didn't necessarily have the greatest angle to go. You can sit Goblin on the payload as well, which he was, and just spraying those pellets out, the explosive bombs out and grenading the opposition, but it doesn't seem to matter. There's Graviton going off, and you're trying to deny it, not just with the actual immortality field, but with the beat as well being dropped. But in a fight, oh no, the fight is going down, but unfortunately for the Boise State side, it's not in their favor this time around.
Wow, just the internet connection ping-based gods. Equalizing those earth shatters, but it's going to be Oompa Loompa coming out on top. His team's got the follow-up, sending Boise State packing. Still, though, the Broncos with 5 minutes on the clock. They've got the Rip Tire in hand, and it's getting let loose. See what kind of road trip it can go on, what it can find. The rest of the Brawl Comp speed boosting in fearlessly, getting out cooldowns from this UC Davis team. The Zarya Bubbles are gone. The Immortality Field is out, but the Rip Tire unfortunately comes up empty. But they've backed UC Davis all the way down. Now the Broncos are locked up inside this Graviton Surge, nearing the 3rd-point finish line. They're finding a couple kills, but they've already lost Guac. The front line down for the Broncos. The staying presence not quite as strong as it could be, but that is the 3rd point wrapped up in quick fashion. 4.5 minutes.
Oh my goodness. I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I mean, obviously coming out strong and having 4.5 minutes left is unprecedented, right? Coming through that successfully in an attack, but I want to point out, we didn't see success come from the Rip Tire in a traditional sense, but we saw success from the Rip Tire. You can't hate on that Rip Tire play. Every single player for the opposing side was so worried about where that Rip Tire was going to be and trying to focus fire it down in that situation that it bought you enough time for your entire squad to come in and decimate them from underneath their noses, quite literally, because you're forced at an upward angle to try and figure out what's going on against that Rip Tire. So not played as a DPS kind of ultimate in that situation, more played as a distraction, and one that completely fooled and bamboozled the entire opposing side.
Yeah, although it came up killless, it completely backed up UC Davis all the way to their own spawn, got out both Zarya Bubbles, got out the Immortality Field. I mean, by then, even though it came up with no kills, UC did nothing left in their resource pools and get them through that fight. And Boise State was able to just roll in with their base kits. They had Reinhardt shields. They kept their Zarya Bubbles. It was almost problemless for them to get in there after that Rip Tire backed them all the way back to spawn.
I mean, you like to see fancy numbers in the kill feed, right? For like a Rip Tire kill or even a Death Blossom to come through, like we had seen in your match earlier. And you like to see those, but you don't always have to show up in the kill feed to be that influential, that important player on your side. And it's definitely a great way to show it off. But we are seeing that May we spoke about earlier coming to fruition, and it's kind of actually catching the opposing side off guard. They get walled off in their tank, and I believe one of their healers was on the opposite side, but it doesn't seem to matter. They're taking the high ground and trying to fight them and keep them away from them.
Looking for a second May wall up here on this high ground, a very unique defensive strategy you don't see too often, but it seems like UC Davis, no problem getting through it. A little bit of a speed bump, but it doesn't hold them off for long. They've got Plato in the backline with a turret set up. Asu does find the kill out of the Baptiste. That is massive. Getting through this with just Lucio Hills. Lucio Hills is no easy task, rotating all the way around to high ground as UC Davis trying to deal with the Torb turret before engaging onto anything else. But how do you recollect with your Baptiste coming out of spawn? Oh, he's about to get dove by so many people. This is mean.
This is bullying at its final level. You even take out the immortality field out of the cooldown. How is he not? Okay, there we go. How is he not dead at that stage? And there comes the pincer. Oompa Loompa gonna fall. It seems to be just kind of like accepting defeat at that stage. You lost the one. You almost made it the whole way without losing anyone, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem to matter. The Torbjorn from Play-Doh. He knew that. Goblin had rocking that earlier as well, and now he's rocking it. It is finding extreme success. You have a weird setup for DPS, but it's not seemingly going to matter, and you're going to find a very successful hold on that first attack from the offense.
Stake switching over to the McCree, now getting an extra stun into the comp here. Amplification Matrix coming out from the high ground, a very dangerous spot, battering down UC Davis behind this statue, running low on resources. The dive starting to collapse. Baptiste and Matrix coming out, but still the kills from the Broncos coming through one after another. Frosty is able to find Goblin way in his backline, but it's not going to be enough, Infernosis, not this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Boise State, they're coming through and they're swinging in every opportunity. It's just the attack needs to regroup. You're trying to push in these situations and you're facing off against this level of high ground potential. Maybe you need to opt into trying to play a pick character. And while that Torbjorn Turdive in the background will make it very devastating, the shield from Orisa, which has that insane, HP pool and the ability to play the bongos down upside and boost that damage, that's two players or two heroes that you're bringing in that will make your assault even more strong, and it's definitely going to show in this fight.
Right underway now, UC Davis doing a great job just getting underneath that high ground so the angles aren't quite there for the Broncos. Graviton Surge locking everybody up. The follow-up should be there this time. Wild is able to boop down Guac. A large bagel falls to Frosty, and it seems like control gain here for UC Davis. No touch coming through just in the nick of time. Kell is able to get on the point before being desuited, and that is the first point cap. Finally, 3.5 minutes on the time bank. Not bad, but still, Boise State putting up such an aggressive number on their attack. It's going to be tough for UC Davis.
Yeah, Guac getting taken out early in that fight was, fairly detrimental. You did have to step off of that high ground. They did a very good job. UC Davis did a very good job of getting below in an angle that can't really gain line of sight to face off against. You kind of force the opposition to step off of their high ground, step away from that mantle they're trying to hold up, and they definitely won't be able to take advantage of either, the damage amplification from Orisa or the Matrix in a very advantageous position that you had in the push before. But the fight does come through. Torbjorn ult going through. It seems to be possibly an ult that gets traded out. Goblin falls to the high noon, and Plato's going to find one as well. And it's just going to find another, and the fight is going in both directions.
No, absolutely fearless, chasing down Oompa Loompa in that alleyway. Knew he was the only isolated target on the side of UC Davis. Made sure to overload right at him, but now it's a Death Blossom coming in, finds that lethal large bagel. ACU also goes down. Block is not going to make it out of this one alive, and the cart continues to push forward along second point here on Kings Row.
Yeah, this streets phase in this section is very difficult to try and hold on to, but fortunately for you guys, they don't necessarily have heroes that have that wide AoE damage, say like, the Sigma rocking up that flux to try and, remove you from that very small hallway segment. Instead, you're having to face off against a Torbjorn, which, as I was calling, the ult seemed to be kind of just removing it from there so you can get that switch off a little bit swifter, but the fight continues. Matrix goes down, and the hammer actually connects a little bit, but not enough. Oompa will find one with the actual fire strike. Decal will find another on top, and Lucio will find success into the opposing opposition of Oompa Loompa.
Kel's doing a great job here, not aggressing too far. He is locked into this Graviton Surge from Ecal, who's at 100 charge, really able to beam him down rather quickly. Still, though, Plato clinging to the top of this payload with ACU, giving him the full pocket treatment, but ACU gone down. Plato short-lived, and with him falling by the wayside, it's looking like UC Davis has a 3-minute time bank going into third point. Still, a very, very fair time bank.
Obviously, it's not the exact same as the attack previously, but you don't need it, right? Like, I mean, you can play your own game. You find a little bit more success. You're playing against them once. You can do it again, win those overtime situations. But the Orisa ult does go into high noon. Comes from Juicy. She'll try to find success, at least to bust out the Orisa shield in the front. Not able to take out the Reinhardt one instead. But the push is going to come through. Guac and the opposing side of Kell are going to make the aggression. Boise State pushing in and trying to find success against the opposition. The Reaper actually phases up above and could be a drop down.
Plato definitely staging for a strong engagement here with a large bagel by his side with the beat drop to bail him out if he needs it. I like how he's just riding up along the walls. Amplification Matrix comes out now. The push from UC Davis starting to begin. And there's the Death Blossom right on cue, but stunned by Juicy Steak. Still though, Plato lands the headshot in the Juicy Steak skull, sending her back to spawn again. And I'm seeing Goblin on this Bastion just posting up. I saw him do this in the fall during the last season of NECC. He's just so confident on third point Kings Row. You don't run into Bastions very much on this point, and it's just a complete wrench thrown into this attack.
And we obviously don't see Bastions in the first place very often, but no, we are finding success. Goblin obviously playing it a lot, goes in full send with the tank and making a rotation. An Earthshatter comes through, but doesn't make any connections whatsoever. Kel is not able to find success off the top of that. The shield from Ubaluba does block, and there's Plato wreaking havoc from behind, or should I say reaping havoc from behind as he finds success. Not once, not twice, but thrice against the opposition. And Goblin will try to finish off the fight, and Plato will find not just his third, but his fourth for the final team kill.
Well, the 3-minute time bank has turned to just 1 here on third point Kings Row. UC Davis, they've got some ultimates coming online. How about 4 of them? Both DPS, both tank ultimates in tow for this next fight, and only a supercharger I'm seeing on the side of the Broncos, so it's going to be interesting how the Broncos are able to make this stand, see if they can make it work. It's going to be up to Goblin to be supported by his tanks and stay in this fight. Plato has to stage for another strong engagement.
Ult charge is very close, sitting at 73%. It's going to try and get as much as possible with this high ground situation that you've got with Guac, and Plato's definitely going to make it very difficult. Guac finds one onto Wild, and it's going to be hard now when you have to wait for that Lucio. He may be swift and be able to get into the situation fairly quickly, but it's just a couple more seconds that are now removed from your attacking assaults.
20 seconds left on the clock. This is pretty much final fight territory if they're hoping to make it to the end of the map. Goblin takes down 2. Plato with the first pick of the fight. Goblin, I mean, he is just sitting back there all alone, not a care in the world, letting the lead fly forward. 7 seconds on the clock. The contest might come through, but I can't imagine UC Davis is able to hang on much longer. Graviton Surge giving him a little bit of hope, but Goblin shutting it right back down, and Boise State goes up 2-0.
I'm gonna cry.
Oh my God.
There was one spot right there, right at the end. I want that. I wish, I don't know what the angle is for production to have that, but there was this one spot with the fight right in that last engagement, obviously going in the favor the opposing side. And Uvaluma trying his hardest. He comes in, his team is dead from behind. Plato Reaper ult comes through, not finding very much success in terms of the ult itself, but finding success with a kill. But Oompa just sideswipes him, takes him all the way back to his own spot, says, no, you're coming with me for the only kill that actually came from that engagement, just out of left field for that huge Reinhardt charge, and I almost cried. It was so funny to watch that.
I mean, he was pinning from the 10-yard line all the way to the other end zone right there, just getting max distance, but fortunately, not enough for UC Davis to come out on top. I mean, that was the most impressive attack I've seen so far all season, any division, not just this Gladiators division, although there's something to be said at the highest level of play at the NECC for Boise State to put up a time like that, insane. But just in general, that time bank, almost unbeatable no matter what UC Davis was able to muster on their attack.
It was a very phenomenal showing. I like to see the very wide variety of hero choices. We obviously seen a Torbjorn come through, and success was initially found in that, not in the Streets phase, because you don't play a Torbjorn in Streets phase. But you found a large variety. You like to see, you don't like to see one side single-handedly, sweep out. It was obviously a well-fought engagement from both sides, and you like to see them try to shake it up, bring the situation to a more eventful side. The Bastion switch at the end was, I don't want to say the deciding factor, but it was the final nail in the coffin. Once you see that Bastion get switched to, you're kind of going in your head as like, okay, they feel they've got this one in the bag. They can switch it up slightly, and they feel comfortable enough with this to bring it continuing further. So I think it was a great showing. Obviously, a better showing in regards to one side, but still fun nonetheless.
And I feel like most players, when they think about Bastion, it's usually an opening pick in a round, right? You usually run into a first point and you're like, the other team, they've got the Bastion. But very seldom is the pressure on, as the attackers, the entire map, and then you get to a third point, and then the other team just whips out the Bastion as just this final boss of firepower coming straight at you. Goblin is just a man of mind games, pulling out that pick late in the map like that.
I mean, you gotta build around the meta a little bit. You can play whatever you want. There obviously is the meta involved, but Goblin obviously going, hey, I don't need that. I'll play at this level and I'll find success. And speaking of meta, I think we actually are sponsored by Meta, which is in fact Meta Pro Gaming, which is a full-service esport management, developmental, and consulting company. Meta provides esports coaching, which I'm pretty sure Yelkup here actually does, college esport management, arena design, and equipment. You can visit them at metaprogaming.gg if you want to learn more. Aren't you actually an Overwatch coach, Yelkup?
Oh, nothing big. Just coaching some teams in some amateur tournaments, but it is a lot of fun. I mean, I'm nothing like Meta Pro Gaming's got on their coaching staff. If you're trying to grind to the top of your peak, that's where you want to go. But I'm just making some gamers better down at the recreational level, and they're having a blast doing it. So it's fun just to be involved in amateur level.
If I walk in and I say I'm only playing Widowmaker, coach me. What do you do?
I talk to you about your angles and how you're probably being too aggressive and that you aren't aware that the other Widowmaker is looking right at you while you're lining up a shot. But just like VOD reviews, walking through map slow, talking about cooldown management, alt economy, that sort of thing. And honestly, the big thing that I would say I like to coach is just tempo of play. Realizing where you can give up resources and let the enemy take some space if you know you're in a stronger position to just take that back and overcome the enemy there. I mean, you saw right there, Boise State, they go down 2 picks in a fight. They come back and they win that fight. Or like on Street Face second point, UC Davis, they go down 2 picks and their main tank is taken down in the left side alley. They come back with a Graviton Surge. They know where to take the tempo and they're able to finish the second point. So it's things like that where even though you're down in the fight, it's not always lost.
So actually, I think we have a guest. We're going to talk about our last sponsor here, but I think we actually have a guest speaker to bring in and talk about this sponsor here. So we'll bring him in real fast. And I think Yelkup will take the side step back for a second, and we'll bring him in swiftly. He'll be right back.
Anything for
this individual. We'll bring this. So actually, I want to talk a little bit about our HyperX sponsorship. Wait. All right. The HyperX mission has been to develop gaming products for all types of gamers. High-speed memory, solid-state drives, headsets, keyboards, mice, charging accessories for console players, USB flash drives, and mouse pads to the gaming community and beyond. That's correct. HyperX Gear is the choice of celebrity ambassadors, pro gamers, tech enthusiasts, and overclockers worldwide because it meets the most stringent product specifications and it's built with the best-in-class components. Absolutely. I mean, personally, I use every single day the Alloy FPS Pro to get my gaming needs done. That sweet MX Cherry Red keyboard keys are phenomenal at what they do, and they definitely give me what I'm striving for. So thank you very much, HyperX, for the sponsorship, and make sure to check them out. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We'll go right back. We'll bring Relk right back in here. Thank you very much for the guest speaker to come through and, hold that conversation with us. He's, a representative here from HyperX, I guess, or something along those lines, long lost ninjutsu, Naruto kind of thing going on right there. But we like to have fun with it. We're going to have some fun here. Okay, well, speaking of fun, Havana. Coming into escort, you just did this one, right? So a very one-sided push I saw in the last game from one side to come in with a large time, bank left over that we just saw, previously there in Kings Row. What's your take for these sides?
Well, it's interesting. Having casted this map 2 times tonight already in 2 different divisions, I've seen in both matches only one team chooses to hold the spawn and the other team chooses to hold way back. And honestly, after watching 2 games, I've got to say that I like the strategy where you just hold the spawn doors with that first attempt. Even if you get taken down, you are holding them at 0 meters. Anytime you take off the clock is just raw value. You get enough time to set up for that second defense on first point. And I think it's the best way to whittle time off the clock on first here on Havana. But as far as the attacking side is concerned for either team, poke seems to be the meta here on this map. So sniper picks like Widowmaker, Hanzo, Ash, we might see all of them.
Yeah, I saw that Hanzo find rapid success in the matches previously. I would love to see that Hanzo come in. We haven't seen Hanzo at all previously, though, in the last 2 maps. And Hanzo is one of those heroes that can have some success on every single style of map. As the Storm Arrow is a very strong way to remove shield operators and kind of burn those down when they're in play. And I did just see, I don't know why it showed up there for a second, but Hanzo was getting picked for a second there. I don't know why that was doing that, but I definitely think we will see a Hanzo come through, and if we don't, I would be shocked because of how successful it's been throughout the entire day today.
I think you're right. I mean, I have gotten a chance to actually see Boise State play this map in a few different situations in the fall, and I'm very familiar with them running. It seems like they're going to go Wrecking Ball and the Sigma with the Hanzo. Usually it's a Sigma and a Roadhog playing for a little extra pick potential, but I'm happy with it either way. Rezo coming in, he is a McCree specialist for this Broncos team, but he is no slouch on Hanzo. Plato going to be the other sniper on the Widowmaker, and we're seeing double sniper from both sides. That really is how to play this map in the long sight lines it's given. And on the other side, we're seeing Wild and Fenrir, some damage boosting supports, and the Mercy Zen mirrored from Boise State. Talk a little bit about that support. What does that bring to the table that the previous support comps we were seeing don't quite bring?
I mean, when you bring a Zenyatta in play, you're able to put that Discord orb down and support your team in that way, especially when you rock that double sniper. Ashe can't always one-tap, headshot in that situation. You have that Discord orb come through. It allows that extra level of damage. When you have the dive tank that is Hammond coming through as well, that can buy some time off of your backline DPS of the snipers. And when you bring Sigma as well, it allows you to put those roaming shields, throw those out ahead of you, play in that situation, and to knock back the opposition when they try to push you forward. So, while one side is not bringing the Hanzo and they're bringing the Ashe instead, I don't think that's a very bad decision, because that dynamite that can go off and use that DOT damage in that situation is going to be very fruitful in trying to collect, and it already is. Frosty connecting with Guac. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately for any Widow mains out there, Widow connects onto the Ashe successfully twice. But Juicy Stank not going to be outdone, or is going to be outdone, as Plato finds a third kill back-to-back. And it seems to be a pretty, successful sweep coming out from the actual Boise State side.
These Boise State snipers are just unhinged, letting the headshots rain in. They're pushing into the first point already with nearly a 3-minute time bank, bound to turn into around 5 minutes. Another phenomenal pace they're setting on Havana thus far. But here's second point. The defense, Frosty goes down early. Of course, that's very unfortunate, but the defense does get to come out of spawn and take complete high ground control on this second part of Havana.
You've already baited out the actual revive coming from, Wild on the opposition, so you're in a good situation. That one player that you've taken out may not be, still gone, but the Dragon, it does come through. It actually connects. Fenrir getting trapped in a corner, and it's another one-sided fight right now. Boise State finding success off of the DPS success and that extra support from the Zenyatta that we talked about previously.
Pronosis, this looks so painful. I don't know if you saw toward the tail end of that fight, but I'm seeing Hanzo arrows flying in from one angle, the red line from these Widowmaker shots coming in from a completely different one, and then you've got a large bagel up just chilling, top right, living in his own world, raining in these shots with the Discord on the targets. It's just so many threats from so many different angles. How does UC Davis even play around this? It seems like there's no angle they can take.
And you gotta put a shield in front of your backline right now. If you're gonna rock the double sniper combo of the Ashe and Widowmaker together, then you need to have them be secure in position. Rezo finding more success, a double kill off of his ultimate. Ace is gonna find it. The healers can get it done as well. They Valkyried out. The Valkyrie out from Ace is going to connect and actually find success in return, showing that their Widowmaker can do it, so can I. And that's going to be another successful push by Boise State. But yeah, like you spoke about, you need to protect your backline, those snipers. They're too far out in the open. That Sigma shield wasn't enough to get yourself situated. You're trying to make that switch, and you're trying to bring out the Orisa shield to help yourself. It'd be enough.
This is where the defensive Widowmaker does start to shine a little bit more. You have the high ground advantage the entire point coming out of spawn. It's a completely downhill battle, but still. Rezo swapping over to the other Shimada brother, going with the Genji. Plato hitting the hook shot, headshot onto Juicy Steak. What a phenomenal opening there from the Boise State hit scan. But like I was saying, Rezo on the Genji is just looking to challenge the double sniper lineup from UC Davis. And he's just dash resetting in the backline, getting out crucial cooldowns. Guac rolls in with the Wrecking Ball mines, but unfortunately he's burnt it down by Ecal. Still though, Boise State not out of this fight yet.
That's a total repeat, or the opposite direction of what we saw previously. It was Juicy Steak who had connected on the Play-Doh going for that gravel shot. Going the other way this time. So it's nice to see those little engagement. Of course, as a Widow main, I like to keep track of those engagements. But the fight actually successfully going in favor of UC Davis. Now EKL has connected with 2, putting themselves in a good spot. EKL may actually be able to connect with another, but Wild will find it instead. EKL is in a little bit of trouble as he was getting forced out, but the Sigma does what it does best, surviving the engagement, and it's just going to be a slow but still a cleanup nonetheless from the UC Davis side.
UC Davis going down in that fight early again, but just reading the tempo, they back off, they get back in with their hit scan. It seems like Juicy Steak was able to get back into the mix there, find a crucial pick. Rezo goes down early here after that amplification matrix. Just amplifies so much, and he's bursted down, sent back to spawn. They have to collect again, and they're coming up on my favorite combo in the game, Nano Blade. Seeing what Rezo can do with that, I'm very interested. To be coming up in the next fight. Bob coming out now.
There's a lot happening right now. Rez is going to try and reflect a lot of the bomb damage, but it's going to have to take the step back. Ace will use the revive and a Play-Doh, while Wild will find Kel of the opposition. Your tank now down and your revive not up because you had to bring back your DPS is going to make this more difficult. Play-Doh will not win the sniper battle nonetheless. Juicy Steak will find the success for their side, bringing them into a more advantageous position. You still haven't switched off of the Widow and Ashe combo. You're still rocking that DPS chain. You have to feel very comfortable to do that despite the struggling you had on that initial hold for the first 2 points.
I like how they do have faith in their comp. The Gravitic Flux coming out now from Kel. It seems like a lot of members of UC Davis are in very dangerous positions. Wild has to throw out that immortality field to keep him alive. Fenrir popping that Transcendence as well. The supports doing what they can to just keep this front line standing, but it's going to be Rezo coming through with the blade, comboed with the nano from a large bagel, taking down 3, cutting them up like a culinary artist, and the payload nears the finish line on 3rd.
I want to talk about what happened right there. We did see, the Flux came out, you bait out the Transcendence, and in the process of baiting out the Transcendence, you no longer have that ability to clear out the minefield that comes from Hammond. So usually you see the Transcendence as a bit of a counter to that. Go ahead and step into all of them, rinse them out. You don't have to worry about that damage, but they didn't worry about that. Frags do actually drop, however. Juicy's able to find one, find 2. NECC finds one as well, but Play-Doh has dropped a double in return. Walk's trying to see United catch from behind, but will it matter? The Widowmaker from behind, Play-Doh trying to catch the opposition off guard, but a successful retake and a successful rehold will come out from the UC Davis side.
Great last-ditch effort from UC Davis to get out there in time and stop this one with just about a meter to go. They almost concede the point. The C9 almost comes through. 0.28 meters left to go as EKL finds the double kill with his ultimate. Gravitic Flux slamming down Rezo and Kel, sending them packing, and it seems like UC Davis once again successful in this defense. And what was once 5 minutes now slimmed down to 1. Juicy Steak looking to make this an even smaller time bank after that headshot onto Play-Doh.
I mean, good night. You almost Cloud9 that not once but twice now to try and sneak that one through. At some point, you're just going to have to take it and fight it fair and square, but you're not winning that fair and square fight. Play-Doh will fall first. And that's going to be a bit of a hard fight. Ace, we don't actually know if the revive is available. I don't see that at the moment, but the nano does come out, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult. I think they actually use that on a Guac. The Flux does come out as well. Tuning into the back line, and the healers are who you're targeting, but none of them will fall.
A Wrecking Ball mine's on the point, make it a hot spot to touch. Difficult to recontest this point. It seems like they're doing what they can. Wild able to find a couple of picks. The Nano Boost slapped onto the Brig makes them a raid boss, and Wild, with full confidence, rolls into multiple members of the Broncos and just taking them down. I like the Brig coming out to play. I mean, you get an extra stun for Guac and Rezo out there. It just adds another level of difficulty for the dive members of Boise State to get through.
Yeah, you see Juicy Steak playing that preemptive, Widowmaker ult to try and gather the spot line, take one in the back line, make Play-Doh even more fearful than they already were, but it doesn't seem to work. Play-Doh comes through finding Wild and rapid success. Frosty will return on the Guac, but the blade does come out from Genji. He's going to swing out and try to find the opposition. Frosty's buying time as much as possible. It doesn't seem to matter. The only kill you're getting in return here was Oompa Loompa, and eventually Frosty will succumb. The Winslow does come through, however, he's going to swing and try to connect, but the damage is severe. Frosty will take the last one left. Oompa Loompa is not far behind. That's Ace connecting there. You do have the rally to come through. Will they actually get back in time? It's looking like they are going to be able to put up a last-ditch effort with the Sigma finally coming in and actually connecting onto Large Bagel. but Ace and Plato will definitely put a damper, and Rezo will clean up where the others could not.
The rally gave them some staying power just to cling on until this one got down to overtime. And that is important here in Payload. It's not like Hybrid. You make it 3 points in overtime, you've got yourself, a stake in the game. If Boise State are also giving up 3 points in this one. So I like it. The defense coming through. They get 5 minutes all the way down to 0. Very successful 3rd-point defense as they were able to find success fighting downhill with those double hit scans. But now it's going to be a completely different story here on attack. And it seemed like Wild found a nice little wrench to throw at Boise State, picking that Brig. Rezo was on the Genji. Do you think Brig finds value on the first parts of this map?
I mean, you definitely can. This streets phase in this first and middle section, you can find the success. These corners are very dangerous. If you can get a rally up quickly and find success turning around these angles, then you can definitely put something between it. But I would worry about the middle section, most importantly inside the actual factory. It's a lot of topward angles that you have to worry about, and the Brig shield doesn't necessarily go up that high. So you could have a dangerous sightline from the opposition, and we do see, the Widowmaker come out again, and Plato bringing out a Hanzo this time around. So you would have to worry about that above angle to, take out your forehead in that situation. And it's definitely something they're going to have to worry about. But, one thing I haven't noticed from either side right now is taking the high ground, where we do see them finally going right now. Guac and his team of the Boise State side are going to take this high ground in this good situation, try to play the long-range shot with the Sigma shield to block out the Hanzo, and the damage boost coming through.
Going to be a battle of the snipers. Is it going to be the hit skin or the Bowman coming out on top? Rezo and Frosty taking part in a Tracer duel. Interesting to see which DPS will outshine the other. Rezo, Genji going over to a different dive here, keeping the mobility in the comp. Plato able to storm arrow down Ecal to get things started here for the defense as they start to send UC Davis packing early back to that 1st-point spawn.
I mean, situating yourself quite nicely, setting a standard, you would say, in this situation. Juicy Snake will actually connect, however, onto Kel. The Sigmas are the only ones who have fallen so far in this matchup. You've taken out Ecal, and now Kel will follow in return. Plato finding another kill. The Hanzo, the snipers, the Shay are the only ones to actually find success so far. The slam comes through, but it's not enough. Oompa Loompa will fall before making the grand escape. And I think Ecal might as well. Ecal needing heals, finally getting them with the actual Zenyatta being able to support. But Rezo's pulse bomb will find one, and he'll finish off the second on the Ecal.
Wow, Tracer duels are just true superhero fights. Controlling time, blinking around, recalling, chucking out pulse bombs, and sticking Wild on the Brig. So much going on in the interactions in the hits of those two heroes. Plato making a mess of things up front, storm arrowing down Oompa Loompa after headshotting down Juicy Steak. And Juicy Steak over to the Echo now. One of the most overtuned heroes in the game, I think. Does a great job at countering not only Hanzo, but also Tracer and everything else that exists in the game of Overwatch. See if she can find value on this hero, as Widowmaker wasn't quite providing the value she would have hoped for.
I think if you're going to put any one person on the Echo as well, Juicy Snake's probably a good option. They found success on a wide variety of heroes today. And of course, you need to be good at basically every single hero at a substandard level to play Echo with that duplicate ultimate available. We do find a couple frags that do drop. Finward will find success under Rezo. The Tracer gets taken out by a Zenyatta, the support doing its work. Asu will connect, however, and the Flux connects, dropping 2 and finishing off the Wild onto the last kill onto Wild. Kel will find some more, and the cleanup comes through one-sidedly for the team kill.
What a play by Kel on the side of Boise State. Not only did he find 4 in the kill feed, but bailed out by a large bagel when he was stuck by the pulse bomb from Frosty. A large bagel was there with the Transcendence and the Harmony Orb to give him that instant pocket of heals and get him back to full HP. Now Guac is in on the backline, just being a menace. He drops the mine in the spawn door, borderline BM, not letting him out of there. Not playing nice. Boise State giving up absolutely no wiggle room to this UC Davis team.
I mean, they're switching up everything they can. Wild now opting to go into the Baptiste. You see the Ashe coming through. Juicy Snake will stay on the Echo. I don't think that's a bad decision. A lot of changes are trying to be made as the Dragon Strike goes through and connects twice, however, onto the support line. And he's going to continue that dominant reign. He finds 2 successfully without the ult necessary and 2 with the ult. 4 single-handedly from Plato. That damage boost from the Mercy will definitely be a heavy support factor, however. Just like you do see the Zenyatta Discord orbs be the support, Mercy can follow through as well.
Pulse bomb lands, Wild chucks out the Immortality Field in the nick of time to keep him alive. Gravitic Flux coming out now as Rezo was cleaned up by Wild, winning that duel outright. Picking up another kill on the Guac, and Kel goes down to Ecal. Finally, this UC Davis team able to bust out of their spawn with a trio of kills, but still this cart has a marathon of distance to cover before this one reaches the third point.
You will be able to deny Ace to get the step away and Plato as well, staggering those spawns. But like you said, it's a marathon here. They've had to go the entire path this first point, and now you've got to do it where if you step off at any point, it's over. Rezo will find Echo, however, and that's going to reset a little bit of a spawn, buying the Boise State side a little bit more of a chance to step back and fight it in a more advantageous position. Rezo reflecting the necessary minefield, steps out. That's going to be troublesome, but the Zenyatta counter from the Transcendence will go off to deny the minefield any opportunity.
A large bagel claiming that tempo right back, though. Popping that Transcendence to keep Boise State supported through this fight. Gravitic Flux coming out now, lifting up 3, slamming him down, comboed with the Wrecking Ball Slam. A massive combo to finish this one for BSU. They take the clean sweep, 3-0.
I mean, you just pull them off, why don't you? Just shove them. Just take them off the objective, force them away from it. And Cal gets the play of the game in this situation, actually. I thought this would be Plato at that sweep in the beginning, but no, in fact, it's going to be Cal, which is, I remember this play, actually. The drop, very successful, cleaning up another, and finding a little bit of damage, and probably the successful kill onto Oompa Loompa. But, same kind of situation we saw from Plato on the Hanzo. 2 kills coming directly from the ultimate itself, and then 2 following suit and getting kills, handling it without needing that necessary crush ult to handle the situation. But Rezo dropping 38 kills, 51% of your side's kills. Oh my goodness. Rezo was a monster in that situation. And now, we have a lot of positive things you can say about UC Davis in that match. It was a very fun one to watch. They just struggled on their attack.
Yeah, UC Davis had a lot of positive takeaways. I would say that their DPS were outright better than BSU on that third point, but they just have some struggles before that third point. It seems like once they're able to open up those Widow sightlines, fight downhill, they can lock it down. But those first couple of points, and mainly their attack, they've got to find a way to get past that aggressive poke hump and just the disruption that Guac is bringing on this Wrecking Ball. They weren't quite able to do it today. They'll lose 0-3 to BSU, but we know BSU, they've been around the NECC, one of the strongest teams in collegiate Overwatch, a fantastically coached program. And yeah, moving on, undefeated yet again. UC Davis, though, they're going to stick around in the division and do just fine. And Fernosis, standout players today, who are you looking at?
I'm going to pick one from each side individually, and while I really don't like picking DPSs, because those are the ones that obviously stand out, right? Your DPS players. You can see them racking up kills on the scoreboard. I don't want to pick a DPS, so I'm gonna opt away from the DPS in this situation, I think. Rezo definitely had a phenomenal showing in the last one, and I want to pick Goblin because I respect Goblin's decisions to play, Bastion and Torbjorn, but I'm going to have to give it to Kel. Kel's positioning and playstyle on that last hold for Sigma was a way to set the pacing, coming through the entire time. I think Guac, you can make an argument for Guac as the support player in that situation to try and, situate very well as a Hammond on a couple of those maps before, playing aggressively, determining fights equally. But I think Kel's positioning as that mainline shield kind of hero was phenomenal on all maps that we had seen tonight.
I'd have to agree. It's very tough to just pick a member of this Boise State team as the one that stands out the most to me. I think on the side of UC Davis, it was really easily Juicy Steak. I mean, they had a phenomenal play of the game on Ilios. I mean, I have not seen a Widowmaker play as clean as those pair of headshots were. But on the side of BSU, I'm going with the substitute that came in on map 3. I'm going with Rezo, and here's why. They picked Tracer. They were countered by a Brig, and then the second Wild swapped over to Baptiste, they aggressively counterpicked with the Genji and just took the skill matchup, and they were able to close out the round on that hero. I love the aggression from them. They paired very well with Guac, and they're my standout on BSU today.
Yeah, it was obviously a great showing. 51% kill participation despite having to go in that skill matchup is very successful, and it's something that you love to see. And Boise State, they had to face off against their second team. Boise State Blue had to face off against Boise State, Orange, and win it out in a 3-0. But, winning it out in a 3-0 here as well is going to be, rapid success for them. I think that, it's going to find rapid success. But I want to point out Large Bagel. I don't want to leave Large Bagel out, especially for that retake for the last ending of that push there on the last map. coming through, the Transcendence came from the opposing side to deny the minefield initially, and you came through with your Transcendence to keep your team alive and to get yourself situated aggressively onto the objective for your Sigma to take them up and your Wrecking Ball to take them out to give yourself the win to push them all off without even needing to kill them in that situation. I think it was all stemmed out from the Zenyatta Transcendence that came through.
It is crazy how every time we talk about BSU, we end up mentioning multiple members of their team. It seems like they're just a well-oiled machine. Even when they've got just like Goblin doing weird things on Bastion in their own backline, they know how to support it as a unit and just base their entire team around their strongest aspects. So I'm very impressed with Boise State. Another successful start to the season. We'll see if they can carry it on. Pronosis, anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up? Maybe we get an interview in. I'm not quite sure.
I think we'll get an interview before we actually head to an interview. We'll talk about, where you can find more, gameplay like this. We're gonna want to bring who do you want here, Yo? Who do you?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Give me Goblin. I've seen Goblin on Noob Hunter. Give me Goblin.
Yeah, that's a good choice there, actually. But we can talk a little bit before bringing Goblin in. We can talk a little about ESTV, which is like the go-to place to find esports and gaming personalities. It's the first ever dedicated channel for that. It's the first channel dedicated 24/7 coverage. Can be found on a number of your OTT platforms, just like Roku channel, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung TV Plus, Sling TV, Vizio Free Watch. And they partner with a bunch of top gaming networks and production partners for the most robust esports content lineup on linear, online, and mobile. If you want more information about that, you can go to www.estv.co to learn more. I know that, if you want to watch, I always talk about this every time I bring up ESTV. Back like 4 years ago, something like when I was in high school, right? I'm sure that was like 20 years ago for you. About 4 years ago for me in high school. I remember tuning into TBS and watching CSGO, like Worlds coming on, and it was phenomenal to be able to watch esports grow to that level in that scenario. And that was the moments that a lot of people, a lot of families, a lot of individuals will look at esports and gaming as a career choice and go, you can make something of this. And it can be something mainstream and validated. I think that's something that is very nice, especially if it's something like ESTV to come through and provide for everybody out there.
And say you're not just into watching the action go down on screen. Say you want to get in your esports fix on the mouse and keyboard, on the joysticks, whatever it might be. Helix Esports offers a world-class gaming and virtual reality experience at state-of-the-art esports centers throughout the United States. They deliver a professional esports experience to everyone, no matter your level of play, and whether gamers choose to play, practice, or socialize with their friends at the LAN centers or compete at the highest level. Helix Esports is the premier destination for gamers. Follow Helix Esports today at Helix Esports USA.
It's great to do. I know there's one built in my hometown, actually. I don't know if it's Helix Esports, but they're building a new virtual reality, entertainment complex in my hometown. It's amazing to once I leave for college how much they grow without me. But things like that are growing constantly. So it's kind of cool to see that.
All right, well, we've got Goblin in here, the man of the hour, riding high, the Bastion one trick.
Oh no.
I just need to know, okay?
Yeah.
Do you play heroes that don't have turrets?
I mean I can, but that's not fun, You gotta get shifty with it. You gotta get a little creative sometimes. Also, I like the aspect of playing a turret hero and being able to create almost a 7v6 if you play the turret properly, especially on Torb. I mean, because Bastion, you are the turret, but yeah, especially on Torb. That's why I one-tricked him so much, because you can just create so much space on your own. And I don't know why my brain just works with that really well.
I mean, we could clip you were doing a number on UC Davis out there. Infernosis, did you have anything for our friend Goblin here?
Yeah, as a fellow one-trick kind of individuals, I know you checked out my stats. You're a little bit stalking me in the process. It's fine, you take
you gotta check,
Yeah, as a fellow one-trick, mind being on a more skill-based hero in that situation.
Okay.
I respect the decision, but I have a question. When you actually rock into competitive, you say without your team, if you don't 5-second a team, do you actually bring out the Torbjorn and Bastion on a regular basis?
Oh yeah. It depends on really what team runs, or certain maps. For example, Harmer defense, always gonna play Torb. Or what's a good Bastion map? Just certain maps are really good for Bastion. You wouldn't think it, but Busan Sanctuary, normally people run double sniper on that map, or very mobile characters. But if you tell your team to brawl point and force the enemy team to use cooldowns to get to point, you can off-angle and Bastion really good on that map. So like it really depends, certain things. And sometimes, I got to bust out the Widow, take the Eagle duels. Really depends. But yeah, I like to get a little creative with it. It's fun though.
I had one quick play that I wanted to talk to you about on Kings Row third point. It was a Junkrat Riptire that found no kills, but might have been the most valuable play all map. It went on a 10-second road trip, just completely striking fear into UC Davis. It got out a ton of cooldowns. Can you just talk about how that ultimate found so much value without actually getting any kills in the feed, what it did for your team?
Yeah, so one of the biggest issues with Kings Row third point is the fact that there's almost like 2 bends to take, and on defense you can like sit back really far and you have LOS on both corners without peeking one of the, if that makes sense, right? It's like kind of like 2 L's connected at the bottoms of each other. I don't know like what kind of shape you call it, but it makes it really hard to push because there's multiple angles that you need to take aggression on against the defensive team. So I used the Riptire as an initiation ultimate, and I told my team either we're going to draw it in Immortality or I'm going to get a kill with it. And my goal is to play really, really like safe with the Junkrat tire. And then what ended up happening was their entire team pressed S with the speed boost all the way back to their spawn. And that not only cleared both the bends for us on third point, but it also drew out multiple cooldowns that they thought they were going to have to use to evade it. And then I told my team to push aggro, and we were able to deny those cooldowns like that window. And I think I knocked half the Zarya's HP, and I forced her split from her Rhine into like the little cubby room with the mini. And then we sped onto that, and from there it was like we were just able to take all the aggression because we took all the space from them.
It was insane how much space that ultimate made. Infernosis, did you have anything else you wanted to ask Goblin?
No, I just want to put in a word. I want to, I respect an individual that comes out swinging and brings in, their one trick personality and has success with it, not just like, in ranked, but also playing with a team competitively, and I think that's something that is impressive to see. And I hope you continue to play at the level you did. And I was the one who was dumbfounded, especially by that Junkrat tire. The second I saw what you were doing with that, I followed it the entire way, and I was amazed at how well it was able to separate their team and have them to be forced out. I called it quite literally catching the team, hitting them from beneath their chin. They all were just dumbfounded, staring straight up at the ceiling, not sure what to do in the situation. And great job. I want to say
for
your
sure.
team played phenomenal. So
thank you. And I guess one more little thing about the Junkrat tire that one of my friends who's a Junkrat one trick told me. Junkrat tire, when you hear the ultimate go off, if you don't know where it is, it's one of the scariest ultimates in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because you don't know where it's coming from, and if it's anywhere near you, you're dead. So you can use the full 10 seconds to your advantage, and that's what I tried to do.
It's a good little piece of advice, because I am quite a Junkrat noob despite being a 3,500 DPS player. I can't hit a single shot on him, so it's nice to know at least how to drive around the Riptire. But Goblin, thanks for coming by for the interview. Enjoy your win, my friend. Another 3-0 under the belt and another strong start for Boise State. Congratulations again.
Yes, sir, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Alrighty, well, Infernosis, that is going to do it after a long night of Overwatch. I don't know about you, but definitely for me, a long night of Overwatch. But one I was very happy to watch. I got to see Boise State, my favorite team from the fall, come in and put on a great performance and prove that they are just the Titan in the league that they were in the fall, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So I'm very happy to stick around and see that game.
I mean, obviously coming in and watching you throughout the day, casting as well, I could definitely tell you had a lot of fun with this one, and there was a lot going on that was, I don't necessarily see it, especially in the games that I casted last week. There's Boise State, they're coming through, showing me stuff I didn't think I'd see, like Torbjorn's. But, nonetheless, finding success where success is had, so.
Corbin Bastion at 4,400. Who would have thought we'd see that to end the night? But we did. Oh, alrighty. That is going to wrap up the stream here on NECC for Infernosis. I am Yelkreb. Thanks for hanging out for so long, chat. Have a good night.